Today is Friday, December 16th. We're talking about a deal to help the U.S. avoid a government shutdown. Also, newly released documents that could shed some light on an American president's assassination. Plus, Twitter's controversial move to ban some high-profile journalists. What's included with newly launched President Trump-themed NFTs. And which popular movies are being cemented into American history. Those stories and more in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Congress worked down to the wire once again. Last night, lawmakers passed a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown that would have gone into effect today. But really, all they did was buy themselves a bit more time. This spending bill only keeps the government running for the next week until they iron out the details of a much larger spending package that will fund the government through September of 2023. So far, negotiators have not gone into details about what's being proposed, but generally, Democrats have been pushing for more funding for education, health, and veterans programs, whereas Republicans, like House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, say raising more spending will just bring more inflation. Still, many lawmakers have said a bipartisan compromise is coming together, and negotiations continue. Separately this week, Congress overwhelmingly approved a new defense policy bill worth $858 billion. It gives troops a pay raise, lets American military leaders buy more weapons, and in what's considered more controversial, it lifts the mandate for service members to get their COVID-19 shots. More than 8,000 active duty service members have been discharged over this issue already. Now some of them may be able to come back soon. Since the bill got bipartisan votes in both the House and Senate, it now goes to President Biden to sign it into law. As of this week, Americans can now see thousands more government files about President Kennedy's assassination that were once top secret. The Biden administration released more than 13,000 documents yesterday and posted them online. And they're grabbing a lot of people's attention since for nearly 6 decades, there have been conspiracy theories surrounding JFK's death. This latest release didn't seem to include any major bombshells. A lot of the newly released documents have to do with the gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald. Some focused on his specific movements, his contacts, and whether it was really his signature on a visa application for Cuba. Overall, investigators have actually racked up 5 million pages of records related to JFK's murder. And now, with this latest release included, the White House says 97% of them are now public. A CIA spokesperson says the stuff that's still private includes some intelligence sources, methods, and terminology they don't want out there just yet. Still, there are people upset about the 3% of documents still classified nearly 60 years later, and they're accusing the CIA of a cover-up. So President Biden says even more of the files will likely be released next year. Today, we have updates in 2 cases of people being killed by police officers. The first one dates back to 2019, when a white police officer in Fort Worth, Texas, shot a 28-year-old black woman named Atatiana Jefferson. That now former officer was just found guilty of manslaughter. It's a rare conviction for an officer who killed someone who was also armed. Jefferson also had a gun in her hand when she was shot, and the officer testified that he had no choice but to shoot her. But a jury agreed with prosecutors that she didn't know he was a police officer at the time, just a man shining a light through her bedroom window from her backyard. The reason the officer was there in the first place is because a neighbor called police about her front door being open. It came out at trial that she left it open to let out the smoke from burned hamburgers. But the officer went out back to look for signs of a break-in, and that's when the deadly encounter happened. Now he faces up to 20 years in prison. The sentencing part of his trial starts today. Separately, 5 law enforcement officers in Louisiana were charged for a deadly arrest that also happened in 2019. This is one that sparked a lot of questions when body cam footage came out. It showed white Louisiana state troopers punching, dragging, and using a stun gun on a black man. In the video, you can hear Ronald Green apologize after leading the troopers on a high-speed chase. He also says, "I'm scared." Then troopers wrestle him to the ground, put him in a chokehold, and punch him in the face while calling him names. Eventually, he died. Now, one officer is facing a negligent homicide charge. The others are charged with things like obstruction of justice and malfeasance, which is basically wrongdoing by a public official for allegedly taunting Green and trying to sweep the whole case under the rug. So far, the officers aren't saying much, but attorneys for 2 of them say they expect their clients to be found not guilty at trial. To be continued. So that winter storm we've been talking about all week has finally made its way from one coast to the other. Now it's spreading snow and ice in the Northeast. Just yesterday, parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York started seeing snow. Today, it's moving across New England, where people can expect up to a foot of snow. Already, this same system brought more than a foot to parts of the upper Midwest and severe thunderstorms to the south. At least 50 tornado reports were made since Tuesday, leaving a trail of damage behind. Once this storm system moves out, the big weather story will be extreme cold. In fact, some meteorologists say millions of Americans can expect some of the coldest December temperatures they've seen in years. More news is still coming up, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor, Rocket Money. I've definitely taken advantage of free or discounted trials on apps like Spotify, thinking I was going to cancel before I'm charged full price, and then life gets busy and I forget. And then months go by sometimes, and I've wasted money. And I'm not alone. Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when, according to Rocket Money, the actual total is closer to over $200. For you, maybe it's a Hulu account that never gets streamed after the 30-day trial, right? Well, there's a great app that can help track all of your expenses, and because of that, help you avoid wasting money on subscriptions that never get used. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Rocket Money can find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. For the third year in a row, the White House laid out its plan to tackle a winter wave of COVID-19. This time around, the surge is not expected to be quite as big as last winter's, and certainly not anything like 2020. But health experts say cases are already trending upward in 90% of the country as more people start getting together indoors for the holidays. And with that, the numbers of hospitalizations and deaths are going up, too. So the Biden administration's plan includes more COVID-19 testing, vaccinations, and supplies. For example, the government is sending out another round of free COVID-19 at-home tests. People can order up to 4 more per household from covidtest.gov. The White House also plans to make another push to encourage people to get vaccinated, especially those considered most at risk. It's starting with nursing home residents and staff. And the government is getting supplies and personnel ready to go where they're needed. Former President Donald Trump is making the leap into the world of NFTs with what is basically his own digital trading card collection, all about him. Earlier this week, he teased that he would be making a, quote, major announcement on Thursday. Many speculated it was related to his 2024 presidential campaign. Well, the trading cards seem to have been a surprise for a lot of people, including some of Trump's own supporters. Some of the cards depict Trump as a Superman-style superhero. Others show him as an astronaut. Many are colored with very patriotic themes. In all, there are 45,000 different cards. Each NFT is $99. Although anyone who buys at least 45 of Trump's cards is guaranteed a ticket to have dinner with the former president. Data from the NFT marketplace OpenSea shows around 30,000 of the NFTs have been bought. The shakeups at Twitter are not letting up. The social media app just suspended more than a half a dozen different high-profile journalists who were covering owner Elon Musk and the company. The suspended reporters include employees of the New York Times, CNN, The Washington Post, Mashable, The Intercept, and Voice of America. And some independent liberal journalists like Aaron Rupar and former MSNBC anchor Keith Olbermann also had their accounts locked down. It's already brought on some criticism. Those who say Musk is doing the same thing he's criticized by banning accounts, especially ones that disagree with him. And some journalists feel they were banned for just doing their jobs. Musk tweeted out, though, quote, criticizing me all day is totally fine, but doxing my real-time location and endangering my family is not. Many of the reporters were recently covering the story we told you about yesterday, when a Twitter account was suspended for tweeting out the locations of Musk's private jet. In at least one example, a reporter linked to a jet tracker as part of the story. Musk recently changed Twitter's rules, banning anyone from posting real-time location data. Some of the banned reporters said they got messages that their suspensions were permanent, but Musk tweeted that suspensions will last 7 days, although he's now running a poll asking Twitter users to weigh in. More than 24 classic movies are getting preserved for future generations. The Library of Congress picked 25 it considers culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant to add to the National Film Registry. This year, its selections include the Marvel superhero movie Iron Man, Disney's cartoon The Little Mermaid, the romantic comedy When Harry Met Sally, the musical Hairspray, and more. Later this month, Turner Classic Movies is planning to host a television special to screen some of the movies named to the registry this year. Plus, a lot of the movies are on streaming services like Netflix and Disney+. Well, time is running out to get your gifts in the mail if you want them to arrive by Christmas. The deadline to send your gifts through the U.S. Postal Service through ground or first-class shipping is tomorrow, Saturday. Of course, if you want to buy yourself some more time, you can use some of the more expensive shipping options after that. By the way, you probably should have already sent your gifts if you wanted them to reach their destinations by the beginning of Hanukkah, since the first night of the Jewish holiday this year is Sunday, December 18th. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. I've had to find more doctors lately since I was pregnant, and then once I had my son, he needed a pediatrician, and when our insurance changed, my dentist was no longer in network, so I needed a new one. And let's be honest, it can be hard to find the right doctor for our own specific needs, personalities, and schedules. Oh, and of course, insurance. And yet, it's a really important decision. Well, I always at least check out ZocDoc as part of my research process. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. Go to ZocDoc.com, check out doctors that could be right for you, and if it looks like a great fit, book an appointment in person or remotely that works for your schedule right on the app. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. In Idaho, one very generous Secret Santa has been helping very deserving people who are down on their luck this holiday season. With the help of a local news team, every day for the past month, the Secret Santa has been giving out portions of $1 million. One family with a young infant daughter desperately in need of a heart transplant was surprised with a check for $10,000 to help. In another instance, a single mother providing for 3 kids had been fighting with pain in her mouth for months. Her insurance wouldn't cover about $20,000 worth of dental work she needed to fix the problems. So the Secret Santa worked out a deal with a local dentist to pay for the procedures. Also recently, when a husband and wife who both worked as school janitors lost their home in a fire, the mystery person gave them $10,000 in gift cards to various stores, along with another $10,000 in cash. The Secret Santa of Idaho has helped out dozens of people in need already this year and is expected to continue surprising people up until Christmas Day. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. Our guest expert offers helpful advice about dealing with grief during this holiday season, or what to say if you know someone else who is. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.